Might have heard tell that it's endorsement season. Of course, you see those all over the place. Campaigns are putting them out, who endorsed who and why. And we should ask ourselves, does it still matter? Endorsements have changed a lot. It used to be local newspaper endorsing you was a big deal, whether you were a local, state, regional, or even a national level candidate. It was also a big deal for radio or TV to endorse you. They don't really do that anymore very much. And of course, there's the celebrity endorsements. That has a long history. Politicians have always wanted a celebrity or two to come around, give them a little star power and pizzazz. Does that still have an effect, though? Well, let's look back. There are some examples of things really, really mattering. President Joe Biden, even though he stepped down, didn't run it anymore, he became president mostly because of an endorsement. Jim Clyburn in South Carolina endorsed him when he was pretty much dead in the water in the primaries. He won South Carolina, and the rest is history. That was a very important endorsement. You can go back to 2008. Barack Obama got the Oprah endorsement. A lot of people thought that was a big deal. It's a little harder to quantify that one, but was it a big deal? Sure, it was. But in the modern era, what do endorsements still mean? Let's go back to that Joe Biden race for a second back in 2020. The New York Times absolutely beclowned themselves by having a multi-part TV series over who they were going to endorse and then utterly wet the bed when after all that buildup and all that tension and all those very serious questions from very serious opinion writers sitting in that big glassed-encased room in downtown New York City, couldn't pick between any of them. They ended up picking two of them, Amy Klobuchar and Senator Elizabeth Warren, both sitting U.S. senators, by the way, and said, may the best woman win. Of course, neither one of them won. Joe Biden won, and he ended up having the viral moment of that whole thing because in the elevator, the security lady in the elevator just gushed over him, said, I just love you, took a selfie with him. And that little 90-second clip of just base level retail politics that Joe Biden's been doing for all his life eclipsed everything that was so carefully massaged and crafted and put out. It's such a disaster that in 2024, the New York Times announced they were no longer going to endorse anybody. So even after doing it for 160 years, they can't figure it out anymore. Has endorsements changed? Yes, they have. Have they evolved? Yes, they have. Should they go away completely? Well, they'll never go away completely, but what are they now? One of the big things that has changed is social media. Everybody that you see on TV, whether it's a news person, a celebrity, a talking head, whatever, you already know what they think about everything because most of them are on social media. You're not really surprised anymore when somebody endorses somebody because you pretty much already know what their politics are and at least know what their tribe or in-group or clique or whatever it is they run with is at the moment. The same thing goes for the people you know. If you're on Facebook with them or Twitter or social media or Instagram or whatever, you probably already know what their politics are, so it's not going to really surprise you when somebody endorses somebody. Now, local papers and things, they probably still have endorsements, but what about some of the endorsements that used to really matter? Like a big labor union. Well, we just saw the Teamsters kind of make a mess out of not endorsing anybody because one of their leaders spoke at the RNC and was buddying up to Trump. A lot of their membership, blue-collar union folks, have bled to Trump over the years, but unions are still very much a democratic institution when it comes to voting and fundraising. So what do you do when your large labor union starts splintering off? Kind of makes a mess of things. So even if they do endorse, is their membership just going to fall in line and show up and vote? Maybe not, at least not like it used to be. Another thing to watch for right now as people are endorsing is the what I call the discount double check bundle endorsements. Yes, this one's become popular. X amount of Y people endorse Z candidate. Of course, the reason they do that is the endorsement actually mattered. They just use their name because you'd know their name and then you go, oh, they endorse them. That's interesting. Or maybe I should listen to that. The reason they don't use the name, you don't know who any of those people are. So you take a bunch of people who you don't really care what they think and you bundle them together and then you can go 150, 200, 500 economists, whatever, endorse so-and-so. Sounds a lot more impressive. But, the reason you bundle things in the first place, whether it's your insurance or a deal at the local vendors or your cable packages, because they're wanting to put in a lot of stuff you don't really want just to make sure the price gets jacked up and it sounds more impressive than it really is. That's how those endorsements are working too. They're not really that impressive. Again, the tell is if it's an impressive endorsement, they'll just use the name. And they don't. So watch for those endorsements. Do those endorsements matter? No, they do not. You can tell by the way they're packaged. Now, that's not to say celebrity endorsements may not matter once in a while. Right now, we have the tiff where Donald Trump has gone to war with Taylor Swift after Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. Is that going to matter? Well, maybe. And just full disclosure here, I'm a girl dad times 4, so I'm pretty well versed in the world of the Swifties. Yeah, it could probably engage some folks. And again, you don't have to engage massive amounts of people. You think Taylor Swift could get a couple thousand people or even tens of thousands of people to turn out and vote? Yeah, she probably could. But does that endorsement really matter? Because again, is anybody surprised Taylor Swift isn't going to endorse Donald Trump? Well, not if you pay a lick of attention. Now, that goes to what we talked about previously with the term I hate and want to get rid of, low information voters. But sure, people that don't really pay attention to politics, if somebody they really like or are a fan of endorses somebody, that might get them to go out and vote. But there's really two kinds of voters nowadays. The real politically connected that pay attention to all this stuff, the sickos like us, you and me that pay attention to this all the time, and the people that don't. And the people that don't, I don't know if you can really quantify what that one thing that's going to sway them is going to be. But people are going to try. A lot of money and clicks to be made in that. So this is the world we live in. Political endorsements just don't mean that much anymore, but people are still going to trot them out because content and branding demand that you have things like endorsements. And I'm not endorsing that this is a good way for things to be. It's just the way things are now. And we should admit it and know it and use it to better discern the times we live in, especially running up to an election where everybody's going to want somebody's endorsement just so they can say they were endorsed, which isn't much of an endorsement at all.
All the music on Heard Tell is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.